Hey, good evening my friends. It is Rebecca. Hello, good evening from Silver Grey Foliage. It's about 7:15 on Saturday night, and Auntie and I have been up here with the children all afternoon. It's windy up here at the best of times, and I really hope that the sound on this is okay. What I really wanted to do was to show you where we're up to and give you a field tour, because often I talk about this plant or that plant or this theory or that theory, but showing you what we're doing I think is really important, so that you can understand when I'm talking about stuff. I really hope that you enjoy this evening's tour, and I've started us at the top of the field so that you can have a look all the way down. So I'm going to move out of the way, and you can just about with the eye of faith see through those groves of eucalyptus all the way down to the bottom of the field, and I promise you that was not possible in September, October, when the eucalyptus was full. So you can see how much of that we've just cut and cropped away. And on the list of jobs for tomorrow and the course of this week is to get those trees pollarded. So I'm just going to move this over to the right hand side, and I'm going to move us actually so that you can see what's going on. Okay, so I'm at the top of the field. Our entry point is to the right and down a bit. And this bit that I'm showing you here is what we call perennials 1. We're going to have to relabel everything because there's lots of change coming ahead. It's still looking really scrappy, so we haven't cut back any of this area yet. I haven't really taken back any of the PPX, which is the plastic stuff on the ground, apart from over here next to the peonies. So the peonies I did I think a little kind of chat about them earlier in the year, and when I did that I just showed you guys that those peonies were weeded, and you can see that the lupins next door to them were weeded as well, and the reason for that was just because I know that they are early starters, so I really wanted to make sure that they were free. So up here we've got a mixture of things. So we've got some echinops that was grown from seed last year. In fact, everything up here apart from the peonies was grown from seed. So there's the peonies over there, we've got some lupins, eryngium in the next bed, and some echinops just starting to come through, and I really need to get on top of the nettles in this bed. Our perennial scabious, and then the next bed there's a mixture, so it's got a mixture of geums, some campanula, and at the bottom a strantia. Just moving along, we've got achilles in this bed that have survived the winter, and it is cold up here, so these guys have survived the winter, which is really impressive. Some pots are a bit scrappy, but they're going to go in to annuals 2 later. The brown stuff is strawberry foxglove. That obviously wasn't hardy enough to deal with the winters that we have up here, and then there's some more foxgloves that haven't quite perennialized because of the cold winter that we've had. Some more eryngium on this side, and some grasses as well. Now you can see that just below this patch of perennials 1, I'm just going to lift the camera and move in front, there's a bit that looks really scrappy. So this bit that looks super scrappy is the second section where we were going to put perennials 2. Interestingly, it's where we started with perennials, and you can see that occasionally there are some peonies popping up. Now the fascinating thing about those peonies is that they have been covered for a year. It was so weedy, the grass was so strong, we set the beds up so poorly that we just couldn't keep on top of the weeds. So we dug out what we could, we split what we could, and then we covered the lot. What's remarkable is that those peonies have survived and they've come back super strong. So we've left them in place, and I haven't quite decided what to do with this patch, and that's the only part of the field that has no plants. Next to it there are some alliums that are coming into their 3rd year. The grass that's around them has been killed off by being covered, which is fantastic, so those will be easier to get at. We've planted a second patch of alliums down on my right hand side as we go down the field, so we'll have a look at those in a little bit. I'm going to do the eucalyptus from here. So the eucalyptus that you can see in the middle is our 3rd plantation of eucalyptus. There's about 120 trees in there, and there's a mixture of greens, greys, and ages as well. You can tell the difference in ages a little bit as you look at the incline of the height. So we are on a really windy, really exposed, really cold site in Yorkshire. They've still gained the height, and it was absolutely full. I will find a clip to kind of fill in so that you can see just how abundant the growth of eucalyptus was. It's been a joy to cut the eucalyptus this winter, and it's provided us with a really lovely kind of continuous flow of income, which I'm really pleased with, and we're going to carry on with that as the year goes on. I'm going to stop and move before we lose the light. So we're now looking down at what we call annuals 1. That's because last year this is where we put our first set of annuals to be planted. So when I say last year, I really mean last season, so at the beginning of 2022. These were all new no-dig beds at the beginning of 2022 that we made with cardboard at the bottom, green waste compost on top, and a bit of manure as well that we got from Farmer Pool. These beds performed really well. Some of them are planted up at the moment, some of them are not. So you can see this kind of first green row here, that's got some tanacetum in it. Underneath the hoops we have got some ranunculus. There's 2 beds of ranunculus there. And then as I'm going to go down to the bottom so you can see from the other end, but what you'll see there, I don't know where I'm moving to and from, but what you'll see there is some foxgloves, some hesperus, so all of those kind of biennials are in at the bottom as well, with some agrostemma as well. So I've moved just to the bottom of that patch of annuals 1, and you can see that there's a few foxgloves in here and some hesperus. We don't really major on biennials, they're not a massive crop for us apart from honesty, and that's that eucalyptus again that you can see. I'm going to turn you around to over here and lift you up a little bit. So that's the bottom of plantation 3 of our eucalyptus, and then you can see a bed that's got some rosemary and it's got some stalks in it. Covered with the EnviroMesh are some cresses, so Persian cress and Greek cress that went in this week. A really scrappy looking bed that's got some marjoram in it, and rosemary at the far end that you can just about see. And then these beds here are newly made this winter. Just going to lift you up ever so slightly. So these beds here are on the patch that originally had our dahlia. That's what was in there first. So this patch had dahlia in it back in 2020, and we lifted them and we covered the ground. We gave it a really good rest, and I'm not quite sure why we rested it for so long, because we really needed the space. But we did rest that patch for a full year and a bit, trying to decide how to make the best use of it. And what we've decided is to put in these long rows, and they're full of perennials. So we've got new baby rosemary in this one, and the next one we've got Stachys byzantium that's been split from a tiny bed over to our right, and to make lots of new plants for this year, which is exciting. It's a lovely, lovely silver grey foliage that we love to use. In the next bed we've got some perennial phlox, whites and pinks that have been split from HQ. So we were actually only given 6 plants originally from a neighbour of ours, and we've had them in the garden for 4 years, and we've split them. And a third of this row has been made from that, which is really exciting. Then we've got some veronicas and babascum at the end of that row. Just moving onwards, the next row is filled again with something from HQ. So that's Alchemilla mollis. That's been dug up a few times and split at HQ, but now it's filled that whole row, and that's brilliant because it's brilliant fresh. It's a lovely kind of frothy, light, limey filler. It really catches bells of water or bubbles of water when it's in the field. I love it. But it dries really well as well. We discovered this winter. So it's a lovely thing to have, and you can get 2 crops out of that if you look after it well. So pretty pleased. And then just moving you around ever so slightly more, there's a wooden raised bed, and that's got mince and a bit more marjoram in it, that kind of limey green colour on the right hand side. Let's move on. So we're now stood at the top of what we called Annuals 2 last year. So there are 18 beds here, and you can see that we've started to fill them, and I'll show you what we're doing in those from the bottom end and the side in a minute. This is where Ant and I have been working this afternoon. We've stripped the beds back, taken off the PPX that was covering all of the beds, pulled out all the nettles, and then after we've pulled out all the nettles, we've given it a good hoe. And then on this left hand side over here, we have dug a trench, which is what we're calling a nettle break, and that nettle break is really there to make sure that not too many nettles grow in from the kind of fence side, and we'll cover some of that. So these beds are going to be filled with perennials that we've grown from seed over the course of the winter. Not everything in these beds was grown from seed, so I'm going to show you the new hydrangea that have gone in. lupins that we have grown from seed, a mixture of our own and bought seed. And also there are hellebore in there that I'm really excited about, and spirea, which is just lovely. Really excited about having so much spirea in the field to show you all and to share with you. So if I move you around from here, you can just see the top of plantation 2. It's looking really bare. We really do need to pollard that foliage wise. So that's eucalyptus in there. You can just see those beds of honesty, and again more perennials going into these new beds. So these new beds here are where we had our dahlia last year. Unfortunately, almost all of our dahlia from last year got root gall. Anything that didn't get root gall died in the frost. So we have new dahlia for this season, not too many, but they're all going to be rooted cuttings because we've decided that that for us is the most economical and appropriate way to get on top of our dahlia needs for this year. So to orient you, we are now at the bottom of the field. This is annuals 2. You can see the tip of annuals 1 with the hoops at the far end of the screen. You can see our new hellebore that went into these bottom 3 beds. Last weekend they went in, which is really exciting. It's not necessarily where you'd expect us to put hellebore, and this obviously isn't the time to be talking about it. I'm losing the light. However, we're quite exposed, which means that it's cold in winter, perfect, but it's really sunny in summer and hot and exposed. There's no shelter in our field whatsoever, so we are going to put shade cloth onto those hellebores as the season goes on and make sure that we keep them really well irrigated. And they've gone into compost that is really rich, so plenty of manure, plenty of feed to keep them happy and healthy. Just moving the screen around a bit then, I'm going to show you this bottom patch. So that's plantation 2 that you can see just above you, and then this patch was covered for the majority of last year as well. We created the beds in October, so September, October last year, and these are full of new-ish shrubs. They've taken a real beating this winter with the wind and the snow and the ice and the -8s and 10s and 12s. But they're starting to grow back, so I'm really pleased that the majority of them have survived. And you can see that we've mulched the ground really well. So starting at the top, we've got some pittosporums, 2 or 3 rows of those. There's spireas up here as well. We've got the Burnham Tinus at the bottom, more spireas over the right hand side, some snowberry. So just variety and plenty of numbers in everything that we're growing, so that we've got enough for our florist customers and enough for our bridal customers and enough for our gift bouquets as well. So the final thing to show you guys, and I know that this just looks like empty beds at the moment, are these beds up here. So these beds have got roses at the top of our screen that were planted in December 2021. And then berries at the bottom of the screen that were planted in December by Anthony. They arrived and I really didn't have the energy to deal with them, so Anthony got all of these into the field, bless him, in the cold in December. So the berries are a mixture of raspberries and blackberries, so that we can offer that kind of fruity berried foliage at kind of late spring, early summer, and then also into kind of late summer or early autumn. So that's very exciting. The final thing, so those roses, before I go, those roses are in some lovely colours actually, cerises and yellows and whites and pinks. I'm really excited about being able to cut from those this year, and they should crop for us from late April all the way through, if we keep feeding them and watering them, until kind of late September. So super excited to have those. There are new roses at HQ that I'm also super excited about, and those are really greening up. It's a much more sheltered environment, but I will show you those another day. Okay, I'm going to leave the video here because this is the project, as if the rest of it wasn't enough work, for 2023. We really wanted to get started on this over winter, but we just didn't, for a number of reasons, and that's okay. It's given us the opportunity to make sure that we're maximising the use of the first half acre that we have. This second half acre we start work on this week. So over the Easter weekend we have 20 tons of compost coming. I'll lift it so you can see me. Over the Easter weekend we have 20 tons of compost coming, which is very exciting. A little dumper, a little digger excavator thing, and new beds, all no dig, are going to appear. There's a lot of work to be done. We've got a few helpers coming to help us. I'm really looking forward to just seeing it all transform. And this will be where the annuals go this year. So we do need to crack on, because I have a greenhouse full of annuals that need homes to go into. So best crack on so that the flowers can be grown. Super exciting time for us, and follow us along for the journey. Thank you so much for watching. My name's Rebecca. I am a flower farmer and florist from Silver Grey Foliage. We're based in Yorkshire. If you like what you can see, please do make sure that you subscribe using the bell icon. And if you feel like buying me a coffee, because we worked quite hard today, please follow the link. It's lovely to see you all. Any questions, pop them in the comments, and